Okay, now it's time for group 3 organisms, and this part of the notes will be much, much shorter. So the first group 3 organism is the aquatic worm, and aquatic worms basically look just like a worm, but they live in the water. It's important that we note that they're not earthworms. Earthworms live on the earth, and they will drown if you put them in water. So aquatic worms, there can be many, many types. They will look like, some of them be as thin as thread, some might be as thick as this one, but sometimes we're even lucky enough to find a flatworm, like a planarian, which you would be pretty obvious once you found one. This one is called the black fly larva. To me, I always think the black fly larva looks like a bowling pin, like a round butt, skinny little neck, and a round head too. So they're very small, only up to 1/4 of an inch long. Here's a drawing, and here's a photograph of a black fly larva. I've seen them in a couple different kinds of colors. A lot of times they're black, or they're this color, this kind of creamy color. Sometimes I've seen them white, but that's the black fly larva. The leech, everybody's favorite benthic macroinvertebrate, and the leech is another one that's worm-shaped, but it's very flat. They do have suckers on both ends, but the one on the back is just the one that helps them crawl, and on the one in the front is their mouth sucker. Now, you don't have to worry about getting bitten by a leech unless you are standing barefoot in the muddy water for a long time. They'll slowly sneak up on their prey, and then you wouldn't even feel them once they started to suck your blood, because their saliva has a natural painkiller in it. So it's usually when kids get out of the water, not during the Rouge River study, but if you were swimming and you got one on your foot or something, you might think it's a leaf at first, and you go to wipe it away and it sticks onto you. But they're easy to get off with just a little bit of salt. Then there's the midgefly larva. Midgefly larva look to me like the parentheses. You know, it's like a longer letter C. And sometimes they're red, and that's why they're sometimes called bloodworms, even though they're not really worms. But you can see this is a real close-up picture. They're very, very small in real life. And here's another picture, not as clear, but the funny thing about them is the way they move. They swim, they twitch their body all over the place. They look like they're going crazy, but that's just how they swim. The aquatic sowbug is related to the roly-poly, or the pill bug. And this picture makes them look scary, but it looks just like a roly-poly, but the difference is you would find it in the water. And these guys can't roll up into a ball. Now for the pouch snail, they have lungs. And remember when I said that the gilled snail, if you hold it to the pointy end, was up, the opening for the gilled snail was on the right. Well, now you see the opening for the lung snail or pouch snail is on the left. And it's just the way they are made. They're always like that. But you have to hold them in that right position. And like I said before, they must be alive. They must be in the shell. No empty shells can be counted. They're pretty cool to collect, but we're not going to count them in our survey. There's a photo of a pouch snail. And other snails, now not all snails have that left-right opening. Some of them are a perfect coil. If you laid it on its side, there is no pointy end. So you would just know that they also have lungs. That's just the rule, that if they don't have the pointy end, they definitely have lungs. Here's a really coiled snail. And true bugs. Now there are 4,500 species of true bugs, so I'm not going to show you all of them. But all you need to know is that a true bug, instead of having chewing mouth parts, they have a piercing mouth part, kind of like a mosquito proboscis nose. And if you ever find one, all you got to do is look at the nose, and see what it's got, how it eats. We can't see a picture here, but here's one example of a true bug and another. So they all look very different from each other, but there's just a very general category called true bug. Back swimmers are true bugs, water striders, a lot of those other things that you'll see in and out of the water are true bugs. And then last but not least are Diptera, the Latin name for flies. And they're adults. They are not aquatic, but you'll see them in and around the water a lot. Best way to know if something is a fly is to look at things. And if it's mostly transparent, it's probably a fly. You can also look at their mouth parts. Instead of piercing or chewing, they have something that looks kind of like a suction cup that they use to lap or suck up their food, like a dog would lap up water. And even some flies look kind of like bees. The robber fly, the bee fly. This one even kind of looks like a wasp, but it's definitely still just a fly. And we would put them in the group 3 category as well. So that is all of the group 3 organisms, and there may be a few changes to the benthic sheet from year to year, but this is the general one. Sometimes they'll move an organism from group 1 to 2 or 2 to 3, but all that means is that scientists have learned a few new things about them and decided they're not as sensitive as they thought, or they're more sensitive than they thought, and we will adjust as needed. Thank you for your patience.